Yo, what's good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What If, so whatever you want to call me, and I'm back. This is a brand new Deku What If. It is what if Deku had a Technopath Quirk, and if you guys enjoy, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. And yeah, I believe I've done this before a very long time ago. I've done Technopath Deku, but we are doing it again. You know, just trying to do some other ideas. I got a lot of ideas in the vault, I'm not gonna lie. A lot of y'all suggest a ton of ideas. Shout out to you guys, thank you so much. And then also I have a lot just like built up, whatever. It's always good to have a nice, like, you know, good amount of ideas, just so I don't ever run out and not know what I'm doing. Now, for starters, sorry this video is coming out a little bit later than normal. Some things came up. I'm like just getting into it right now. And yeah, I mean, that's not too big of a deal, but I just wanted to say that really quick. Now, with all that said, make sure to check the links in the description for the Spotify, for the membership, for other stuff like that. And yeah, with all that said, I hope you guys enjoy this video, and I want to get right into it, so let's get it. This story starts with Izuku Midoriya at the hospital at around 4 years old. The doctor begins to tell him that his quirk seems to be a little bit different. They actually can't tell what his quirk is. They don't know what's really happening. And they ask, well, Inko and also Izuku to actually look at the screen that is being portrayed. They look at it and they see that there's really nothing there. There's nothing going on. And then as they think this is the case, it starts flickering, going crazy, and an image of All Might and, well, a battle with All Might begins to show on the screen. And immediately the doctor thinks, wow, okay, so that's probably why it wasn't being revealed. It seems like your kid or your son here is actually a technopath, and it seems to be that it's actually messing with the kind of things that are going on, and messing with the you know, overall things that are happening on the screens and the technology all around, and that's why nothing was actually showing. And he tells them that he doesn't really know anything else. It could be baseline, where he could only just turn off and on and mess with TVs or even computers and stuff like that. But other than that, he has no idea. In which, of course, Izuku's young. I mean, he thinks like this is awesome. He can turn off and turn on the TV with his mind, mess with different technology, maybe like microwaves and stuff like that. And that would give him a good kind of standpoint or like baseline to start messing around and figuring if he can actually do certain things. And that's what he does for the first, like, I don't know, like 8-9 years of his life. Is just straight up try to learn and mess with and try to get around on certain ideas and certain things. He doesn't know if he can do it, but he thinks to himself like, well, might as well try it, right? I mean, there's no hurt, no harm in it, him giving it a shot or him trying certain things out. Because imagine if it does work. Imagine if he actually can utilize something. That right there will basically give him even more opportunities than what he already has. So when he gets home, when he, you know, starts going through his different times of school and stuff like that, anything that has to do with technology, if he's learning online and stuff and different ideas and stuff like that, it makes things a lot easier for him. I mean, he can see things on a totally different level. Studying on the computer is so different. He can literally just see every little inch of everything, and it even helps him become a lot more intelligent. But it also makes it so he really can't be, I would say, satisfied in terms of intellectually very easily, because he sees things at a totally different sense. He can see all the numbers that create little bits of technology and little bits of code, and he just can't really wrap his head around certain ideas and certain things in general. And that right there is definitely messing with the head of Izuku just a little bit, and it adds for some challenges. So Inko tries her best to really keep Izuku occupied, keep him doing something, keep him figuring something out, keep him learning. And this would lead Izuku to learning quite a bit of different things. Obviously, your run-of-the-mill typical stuff he's going to learn, and that is like, you know, in school stuff and other things like that. But he also has like various different things he starts learning as well, like working the stock markets, working trade centers, and various things like that. His ability to really take in all that info is at such an insane level that he can really push forward on it in a more like, very intelligent and straightforward way. Ironically enough, he is able to make quite a bit of money with the help of his mother, obviously being able to supply the money in the first place. I mean, Izuku is a kid, so he's not going to have any money necessarily, but she would be able to actually, and they would be able to make actually a decent amount of money off of Izuku. Literally, Izuku kind of just doing his own thing, messing with certain things, messing with certain ideas, and eventually there are kind of some interesting question marks that people begin to make on the idea of how he's making this money. Now, it's not like he's cheating. It's not like he's doing some nefarious thing. No. He's actually not. He's genuinely just working the stock market in a way that other people don't understand. And that includes, like, your run-of-the-mill typical cryptocurrencies and other things like that, making it so him and his mother are actually pretty wealthy, like pretty damn rich, right? Maybe not to the same degree of like someone like Momo Yaoyorozu, who's like insanely rich, but like to an extent he actually is pretty well prepared, and he can also kind of really kind of push forward different things that he wants to work on and he wants to do. And he's gotten a lot of kind of requests from different agencies and stuff, hearing about what his capabilities are. But Izuku, he doesn't really have any intentions of doing any of that. He sees himself as he's just a kid still, right? He's not in a superhero high school or a hero high school just yet. He just wants to focus on him. And a lot of that focusing on him kind of goes the direction of like, messing with, different technologies, creating different things that could be useful to him. And he even begins to create various different technological like things that he could utilize in the acts of fighting, but also in the acts of learning. There's one thing Izuku has always tried to do and wanted to do, and that's learn how to actually fight. If that's, the basics of throwing a punch or any actual, regular takedown or anything like that, from wrestling to jiu-jitsu to judo, anything you could think of. If he wants to do it, he wants to learn it. So he actually creates glasses that allow him to actually analyze almost every single aspect, every single part of fighting skills, and that includes various fighting skills from different heroes as well. Fighting skills from the likes of Miracos or Nighteye, All Might, which is pretty straightforward, but everyone has their little kind of aspects, and he begins to really absorb all of it. Now, is he perfect at any of these things, like utilizing the ability to kick like Mirako? Of course not, right? That's just not the case. He's still like a normal human being. He's still your run-of-the-mill typical Izuku Midoriya, but he does start making like, kind of like these gauntlets that could help him throw further, or like, punch harder, throw farther, and also kick harder and stuff like that. And he starts messing with stuff like that, but really he's not that far along in terms of that type of technology. But this technology to really learn has really helped him quite a bit. In raw strength, he's not the best, but in technique is where he's getting very far. Now, he trains for this or with this for a couple years, and it borderline makes him very, very good in terms of a technical sense in martial arts and various other techniques. And after all this is said and done, eventually you get to the end of middle school and all this stuff, and obviously we have this kind of talking with the teacher and stuff like that, leading him to actually facing off with his first villain, being that of the sludge villain. The sludge villain would attack him, and Izuku would actually throw out these kind of random things that were created in a kind of like grenades in a way, but in a kind of technical sense, or like in a technology sense. Like, it's literally like something that he throws, rolls on the ground, and he puts it toward the sludge villain and explodes it with his abilities utilizing through his mind, exploding the sludge villain into like different pieces. And he still struggles forward trying to get him, but Izuku gets the chance to kind of get out of there, jumping on something that he actually has made himself, kind of a juiced up version of a skateboard that glides him directly out of there. I mean, it's not the easiest thing to use in the world, but as long as he stays steady on his feet, he's able to get out of there and get out of harm's way, and All Might himself would come out of nowhere, knocking the sludge villain into small little pieces and ending the sludge villain's little chase pretty damn quickly. He helps Izuku put things into little bottles, and Izuku even shows kind of like a storage device that he even created a long time ago, putting the sludge villain in that to make sure that it's safe and secure. He hands it to All Might and says, "You don't need to give it back, no worries, just make sure to get good use of it," which All Might is super impressed, and then realizes who this is. This is the kid that was on the news about making all that ton of money and all this other stuff, and it seems as if he just showed off a support item that nobody even had in the first place, in which All Might would have a conversation with him quickly, asking him various questions. First off, where is he going to high school? But also secondly, is he going to be a support hero? Is he going to be a hero? You know, all of them are important, but he would love to know. In which Izuku says that he would love to do both, but he feels as if he really should strive for what, well, him and his childhood friends were striving for in the first place, and that's to be like him, be like All Might. In which he then tells Izuku that it's great to have your idols, great to have people you look up to, but make sure you are going out for something that is for yourself, and that's it. Make sure to look for something that will help people and put you in the best position to help people and really excel yourself. In which he tells him this, and Izuku says that he hears him and he appreciates the honesty, and he appreciates, like, you know, everything that is being said. Asks for an autograph, gets an autograph and stuff like that, eventually leading to All Might jumping away. And it does make Izuku question just a tiny bit. What should he do? Should he just be a support hero? I mean, create some of the best items you can think of and help everyone else? Or should he, you know, do more? Maybe he should be a regular hero, a traditional hero, and maybe he should kind of do his thing or whatever, and hope that he can actually be something like All Might, or at least, you know, similar to All Might. And he doesn't know, and it made him question just a little bit, but he realizes that why not just do both? Why not push the boundaries of what's going on and do both? And that's exactly what goes through his head. So when he goes out and he starts training and preparing for this UA entrance exam, there is a thought in his mind that makes him really want to try for both. And that's exactly what he's going to do. Because when the first day of the entrance exam happens, the next very day would be the support course version of it. And he signs up for both of them. And the starting part of the entrance exam, he kind of eases his way through testing and stuff like that, all the written portion stuff, making it very easy for him. He's done a lot of good studying and a lot of good things that he really has been keeping up with. And after all this is said and done, he is then sent to the practical, and the practical right here will show what he can really do. And the practical is something he is very, very excited to get into. And when he learns that these are robots, this practical exam is full of robots, he's very excited, because he gets there and he shuts down almost every single one of them, or makes them blow up, crumbling into nothingness. And quickly, even when the 0 Point robot gets sent his way, he stops the 0 Point in its tracks and makes it fall, destroying part of the city, of course, but still destroying the robot very easily. And Izuku just laughs, thinking that this was not very practical, especially when you give someone like him the opportunity to do what he literally just did. And let's just say a lot of people would agree with that, because Izuku did just make an absolute joke of this, and a lot of the other students that wanted to be involved, well, they weren't very involved. And at the end of the day, they're going to have to test some other time, because Izuku just showed the level of kind of destruction he could really get into with literally just, you know, his raw abilities. And with all this said, yes, Aizawa and even Nezu come to talk to the kid, asking him questions about his quirk, but also asking him why he's trying out for both the support course and also the regular typical hero course. And he says that he believes he could do both. He believes truly that he can help massively through both. And they think, you know what? There's no reason not to let him try. And they tell him that he doesn't have to go tomorrow. They feel that he might ruin it, and in all the good ways, of course. But they do admit that there's a chance he'll ruin it for the other students. So don't come tomorrow. You are going to be entered into both. In which Izuku is excited to hear it, especially when he doesn't have to actually, worry about the next one. And Izuku basically says that he won't fail them. He's going to prove himself right and prove everyone right that they gave him this opportunity. In which Aizawa nods his head and tells the kid to go home. And he even gives a glance to Nezu and basically tells him, like, you know what? I like this kid. This kid's pretty cool. Like, you know what? This might be just the next up and coming great hero. Izuku would then leave and basically tell his mom, like, I got in. And she's like, how do you even know that? And then he kind of explains the whole situation, what happened, and blah, blah, blah. And of course, this is cause for celebration. They go out to like the fanciest restaurant you could possibly think of, and they celebrate. They have a good time and all the above, right? And after some time would eventually pass, he would get a letter in the mail about UA, granting him access to both Class 1A and also the support course as well. Now, the support course itself varies in terms of students. Some higher ranges and others not as much. But they do kind of mess with a schedule for him. It is a very convoluted schedule and one that puts him with at least 2 extra classes. But still, he wanted to do this, so he's going to have to do the work. And which Izuku has no problem doing this. I mean, literally his ability to utilize technology makes a lot of these kind of answering questions online and doing tests online and doing all this stuff pretty trivial. And it doesn't even affect, it's not like he's cheating. He literally will study and he can answer questions so quickly. He just sees things at a different level, borderline making him genius level in terms of intellect. And the first day of UA would eventually come, and that first day will start with the hero course. He would start with the hero course. Everybody would introduce themselves and stuff like that. And he would basically tell them, yeah, like, I'm Izuku Midoriya. I basically can utilize, or I can basically control technology. He flicks on and off the lights. He messes with like different things in the classroom to show it off, and then stops it before Aizawa would eventually arrive. Aizawa would tell them all to be quiet because they have a lot to get into, and kind of familiarizing themselves with each other is not really on his list. He doesn't really care about all that. So they all go outside to do a quirk assessment to see how good they truly are. In which Izuku, he tests very, very kind of inoptimally, you could say. Like, he does well, but it's like on the lower side of things. So when obviously he's threatened that, whoever gets last place is going to be expelled, he doesn't get last, but other people or someone else does. But he gets pretty close to last. I mean, he doesn't use any technology to help him. And after it is all said and done, Aizawa even brings up the fact that Izuku Midoriya, someone here actually didn't give it their all, in which he calls out Izuku for not doing something more, in which Izuku says, like, I don't understand, like, what was I supposed to do? I'm not allowed to utilize any technology, right? In which he says, who said that? Who said that you couldn't? In which Izuku looks at him and smiles a little bit, and he runs off and then comes back with multiple different things. The skateboard, the electronic skateboard that he's been messing with, one that absolutely goes insanely fast. So in terms of the speed test, he utilizes that and almost blows everybody out of the water. Now, he's a little slower than some people, but overall, I mean, he makes it look easy. And then on top of that, with the ball throw, he utilizes one of his gauntlets and throws it extremely far. Now, is it as far as, like, the top score? Of course not. But he shows off these different things and shows off these capabilities through his quirk. And this was the way for Aizawa to help everybody understand something. The one thing he wanted them all to understand was that your quirk is not the only, or basically, like, your quirk isn't the end all be all. Izuku, he scored, yes, toward the bottom, but he wasn't at the bottom. And but when you add his quirk, when you give him the opportunity to actually utilize something that is helping him in advantage, well, let's just say he blows everybody out of the water. and he shows that he actually is at the very top after doing all of these things. And he's like kind of like in between. So he's like at the top, but he's like in the top 3-ish. Now, he could have done a little better here, or better there. But overall, he did insane. And Izuku is kind of shown to be this like next level hero that isn't really your typical one. And that's what Aizawa is trying to get across. Just because your quirk isn't your typical, I'm super strong, or I make explosions, or I can shoot ice, it's not your typical quirk, something you can't really see very easily, doesn't mean it's not useful. And that right there is what he's trying to get across. He tells them all that it's now time for them to head off to orientation and to get out of his face. They all head off to orientation, and he taps Izuku on the shoulder and tells him to not be late to his support course later in the day, or they're not going to allow him to like continue on with this direction. Izuku nods his head and tells him like, I won't let you down. Trust me, like I have no intention of letting you down. And he leaves to the orientation, and later on heads to the support course, being actually a couple minutes early, and even is able to speak with Power Loader and meet some of his classmates. And that would include, well, the borderline genius of a support hero or support course potential hero in Mei Hatsume. They study, they do a little bit of like tinkering and stuff like that, and Izuku is like the perfect person to really try out some of these other gears and things and tell her literally what's wrong with them without even trying them. Telling her certain faulties and mess ups in the coding and stuff like that, in which she thinks that this guy, that Izuku, he's the best. Like, this is awesome. He makes things like everything on easy mode. Like, he literally is like, oh yeah, like this is wrong because of this and this code, and it's like saves, we're talking hundreds of minutes, maybe even tens of hours, if not longer. And this makes her very happy because, I mean, it's efficiency, and she can perfect her babies, and that's something that she really wants to do. And Power Loader thinks that, I mean, Izuku might just be an even better actual, run-of-the-mill support hero than he is an actual, a hero course student. And that's a conversation that obviously is had for a little bit, but Izuku says that he's here to prove he can do both, and do both at a high level. So that's what he hopes to accomplish. In which Power Loader says that he shouldn't hope to accomplish it. He should know he will accomplish it. In which he nods his head and says he will. And he tells him to feel free to take all the stuff he needs in terms of creating something for him. If that's, creating a new pair of boots, a new pair of like gauntlets or anything like that. And Mei Hatsume even says that since she has the perfect kind of like she has connection now with a person in the hero course, she wants to immediately help out him as much as possible. Get him better gauntlets, get him more movement, get him a whole suit of armor. She doesn't care. She wants the best tech that she can possibly come up with, which will take quite a while, but is something that she wants to do. In which Izuku says that he'll definitely help her all along the way, and this leads Izuku to actually having a good repertoire or rapport, with the support course as well, which definitely bodes well when you're asking for different items and stuff like that. So Izuku would then head off, rest the rest of the day, or what he needs to do, head home, and then come back the very next day for more training. And the training would include some things with even All Might himself, and the training itself would actually involve heroes versus villains. This heroes versus villains training is something that Izuku is excited to get into, and he even puts on these goggles that they have been tinkering for quite a while about, that would basically learn people's moves and kind of acknowledge them even better. And that's something he does, especially when they head off and he goes head to head with Bakugo and Tenya Ida, and him and Ochako are gonna go try to find the bomb. In terms of where the bomb is, Izuku knows exactly where it is. He can sense the technology that surrounds it, and all the above. And any little tiny bit of technology on it allows him to see through things and really know where it is. He points it out very quickly to her and says that they're gonna have to handle Bakugo as he runs at them, like an idiot. In which he tells her that that he can basically tell where Bakugo is as well through the technology he has on him too. In which, of course, she's like, what technology? In which he waves his hands a little bit and says the gauntlets. The gauntlets have a little bit of tech in them, just enough for me to understand where he's coming from, in which it wouldn't be too hard to understand in the first place because he's just going to run straight at them. Eventually, they would walk inside, and that's exactly what would happen. Bakugo would run forward, and Izuku would see through his goggles what he's going to do, but even Izuku wouldn't even need his goggles to necessarily know what he's going to do to an extent. He looks, and he sees the overhand coming, and he grabs it, slamming him on the ground, and immediately wrapping him in capture tape in a matter of a split second, and even throws something on him to keep him grounded. Izuku basically says, like, they've actually been messing with something that would basically you put it on somebody and they get attached to the ground, kind of like a imprisonment device, you could say. Ochako thinks this is pretty damn cool, but I mean, overall, it seems like she's not even really doing anything or needs to do anything. They run upstairs to where Tenya is. They handle Tenya as well, making sure that he can't really do anything either, that he can't really, be a factor, you could call it, a factor in this fight. And they would touch the bomb and they would pass this kind of test, this heroes versus villains test. And of course, this would make Bakugo pretty damn angry, but All Might is pretty damn impressed, talking about how Izuku and Ochako were very, very concise and very, very smart with how they approach things, and with how they kind of decided to really go about the way of taking these people down and taking these people down in general. And with all that kind of put in the past, and with all that said, and with them obviously winning this kind of test, or winning this portion of this heroes versus villains test, Izuku would then basically head back and start watching everyone else go through the run of the mill, right? Everybody does the same things, so he watches all of them do the same things as well. He watches them kind of do things. He watches like all of them kind of go through the same test, exactly what they went through, and Izuku just has a good time watching them, studying, and honestly even keeps his goggles on to make sure that he can see exactly how people utilize their powers, utilize their quirks. He has all this information building up, and all this information building up so that he kind of understands it and also can know it whenever the next thing may come, right? You never know when the next thing may show up or the next thing could happen, and he definitely wants kind of like a thought on it, and he definitely wants as much ideas on it as possible. And this would lead him to just watching all of these different exams and all of these fights, or kind of all these training sessions, leading him to eventually heading off for the rest of the day, going back through the different classes he has, and that includes his support classes as well, and just doing the same old with his support course, and just trying to upgrade his gear, learn, and also kind of get a grasp on different things. And Izuku, well, slowly but surely is building up an arsenal. He's getting more, you could say, more usable gauntlets, something that isn't too bulky, too big, but something that would allow him to kind of move freely and still pack a little bit more of a punch and give him a little bit of durability. And on top of that, same thing with the shoes, or his kind of like boots of some sorts, a little bit less clunky, but also gives him the chance to kind of move a little bit quicker without actually having to utilize some sort of flying-like device. Now, with all this being said, they are quickly spiraling and heading forward toward the USJ, which is a rescue facility, something that Izuku is actually excited about, thinking that he's going to be able to get some really good information, right? Izuku's going to be able to actually get quite a bit of information and help, because he believes that there's a good chance that being a support / kind of like rescue like hero, it's going to be a big aspect, a massive aspect of what he does, a really, really big aspect of what he's going to do in the near future. And that's exactly what he wants to learn about. But before you know it, he doesn't really get that chance, you could say. He doesn't really get the chance to to learn more about this and doesn't really get the chance to kind of figure this out because he kind of gets shut down on this idea. And he kind of gets shut down on the idea of actually learning about rescue training when villains would actually attack. But when these villains would attack, when these villains would come in spiraling and all this stuff and try to do their best to take down the heroes and stuff like that, Izuku would utilize and would be able to actually tell these things are going to happen and be able to literally shut down immediately the blockers and all the things that they could use to radio in for help. So they're actually going to radio in help almost instantly because Izuku just shuts it all down. I mean, literally the mole, you could call him, or kind of like the person that is undercover slash the the traitor, of course. They told All For One and everybody about this, but it didn't matter. Izuku was able to shut it down in a matter of a split second, literally crippling what their whole plan is. And even though Izuku gets teleported away, gets thrown in the water, and then helped out by Asui to get out of harm's way, that he has multiple different technological advancements that he could utilize to help themselves out. For starters, he throws something into the water and immediately makes it kind of electrocute, and it just fries almost all the villains inside. And Asui asks, like, so are they dead? In which Izuku just shrugs his shoulders and says, probably not. Like, he didn't really use that much voltage, but let's just say that was an accident, right? In which Asui nods her head and says, that works for me. They would then jump away and get out of there as he kind of disables it so it doesn't, if they do fall in the water somehow, they don't get hurt, you could say, right? They head off toward Aizawa and everybody else, and it seems like Aizawa has already handled so many of these other villains. And as this is all happening, All Might would already be arriving a lot sooner, and on top of that, you have other heroes that are close behind. So everything that has already happened, or everything that kind of or that did eventually happen, is happening in a lot quicker succession. All Might would be here, other heroes are very, very close behind, and Izuku, well, with any technology he possibly can, he's gonna find a way to help out. Even telling All Might to put on these gauntlets, and All Might just listens, putting them on as they fit his hands, and he tells him to give it all he has, in which this would allow All Might to absolutely brutalize the Nomu and actually be able to utilize One For All at honestly a higher state. And they didn't even necessarily know about One For All the way they did, but the gauntlets themselves help so much and even allow him to kind of punch properly and not, mess up anything, or punch incorrectly, you could say. And they absolutely do their job. And Izuku just helps out from afar with different, technology and stuff like that. And even helps get Aizawa out of harm's way so that he can help kind of keep eyes, or literally keep eyes on Shigaraki, taking away his quirk and stuff like that. Now, after all this is said and done, Shigaraki, the Nomu, and Kurogiri are borderline overwhelmed. So much so that they don't even have a chance to react and a chance to shut these things down. I mean, literally, they had no idea, no clue what was going to happen, really smacked them in the face, even with a little bit of a jump head start on the idea that someone here is able to utilize kind of the ability to control technology. But before you know it, I mean, it's shut down very quickly, and All Might and the rest of the heroes that eventually show up, including Aizawa, who's already there, Pro Hero 13, all these people, I mean, they all handle their business, and Shigaraki, Kurogiri, the Nomu, and all these villains are put in handcuffs and behind bars before the day was even over. And Izuku, well, he's a big part of that. And let's just say All Might and many others congratulate him. I mean, saying that they've really never had somebody be able to handle a situation so quickly and so efficiently, being able to recognize that these blockers were put up so that they can't call back to UA and all this other stuff. And then on top of that, being able to shut down almost everything that got sent his way and was able to deal with so much at once, Izuku really showed what he's capable of, and they're honestly proud of him for doing so. I'm proud that he was able to do so at such a high level. And Izuku nods his head and thanks them for, everything, thanks them for all the compliments and all this stuff. And eventually Izuku would then tell them that that really they need to be prepared for anything that's to come, because obviously this will not be the last attack, in which he does have a conversation with All Might not too long after that about the gauntlets they gave him, and if they could work on something similar or give him other things as well that could allow him to work at a higher rate. And which Izuku says, yeah, I mean, we could start with the gauntlets or the easy thing, maybe work into like leg or like kind of leg armor / leg kind of help, or even feats or stuff like that. And he says we can work on something. We'll work on it, and I'll talk to Mei Hatsume about it. And All Might thanks him, of course, and says that he'll definitely be putting in a good word to a lot of different agencies for his help, in which Izuku nods his head and thanks him, but he already knows that he's going to get a lot of words and a lot of things from various agencies, because, well, at the end of the day, they've already been calling him, right? Since the day he became rich and he's shown off so much stuff and capabilities in terms of his quirk, they have been reaching out to him constantly, and he's kind of avoided it because he wanted to be more of like a kid, kind of have a good time with the technology and his usage of it. But obviously now they're getting to a different time, so he's definitely going to have to focus in on it. This would lead Izuku a couple days later joining in the UA Sports Festival, which this is something to really behold, because Izuku actually is the #1 student. I mean, he did destroy like every single robot there in like one foul swoop. And everybody is wondering, like, what can he do? Like, what is he capable of and stuff like that? And since he is a part of the support course as well, he's actually able to and allowed to utilize different support items. So in terms of movement, in terms of like flying around and stuff, he utilizes these kind of boots that they created with a lot of work and stuff like that. And then also the gauntlets, a smaller version of it that goes up his sleeve now, or goes up his arm, that will also help him in almost every aspect. And at the end of the day, a lot of these things don't have to be dumbed down, and a lot of these things that are utilized from Izuku are a little bit more base model. And the reason for this is because Izuku is literally able to utilize them without even thinking. And when All Might was fighting with the Nomu, the gauntlets that he was using were his, but Izuku was kind of controlling them to a certain extent to make sure that they were good in every aspect. So yes, All Might could utilize the same ones that he has, but they need to dumb it down for All Might, or get him one that is a little bit more dumbed down. Now for Izuku though, it could be as complex or as simple in terms of the controllability, because Izuku literally controls them with his mind. And of course, you can take it either way in terms of like the kind of how good they're going to be, or what advances they are going to have, or advances they do have. But overall, Izuku begins to show these off, and show both of these off, something that is labeled to be his and Mei Hatsume's. He shows them off during the obstacle course race, absolutely killing it and getting first place in the obstacle course race. And it would be the same thing when they go to the cavalry battle. Izuku Midoriya showing off everything he can do, everything he's capable of. And let's just say Mei Hatsume already knows that she's going to be making quite a bit of money very, very soon. Of course, making good money for Izuku as well, being that they are like partners, right? They're splitting it 50-50. But Izuku literally is like, I don't really need the money, so whatever, right? Like, get your bag. Like, that's fine. And which that's just how Izuku is, because he only sees the money like as a way of like, oh, I can create more things. And Mei Hatsume to an extent feels the same way, but she also isn't filthy rich like Izuku is. And in this reality, Izuku is filthy rich. So after the cavalry battle is all said and done, Mei Hatsume gets a chance to kind of show off some more gear as well. But Izuku does get matched up with someone by the name of Hitoshi Shinso. And when he gets matched up with him, he would have no idea that Shinso actually has this ability to actually talk to him and make it so that he straight up, literally straight up, just is gone. Like, he is completely mind controlled and all this stuff. And unfortunately, he kind of gets caught by the mind control and walks straight off the stage. But Izuku, well, let's just say he's pretty impressed. Like, he's like, you know what? I'm mad about it. It sucks. But that was pretty cool. And he even tells Shinso, like, they got to work together sometime. I'm sure he can make some pretty crazy technology that would allow him to even enhance what he already can do. And he shakes Shinso's hand, and Shinso's like, I'm surprised you're so calm. You're so cool about it. Like, you're not mad at me? In which Izuku's like, why would I be mad at you, man? Like, I mean, at the end of the day, I'm blessed to have the quirk I have. You know, I can't be mad about, like, certain scenarios. You caught me by surprise, I'm going to be honest. But at the same time, a win's a win, and you won. In which Izuku's very humble about it, a lot more humble than what most rich people would probably be. But at the same time, Izuku knows his worth, quote unquote, right? He understands where he stands and what he could really bring to the table, no matter what. Win or lose during this scenario, he knows what he brings to the table, so he doesn't worry too much about it. Now, he obviously gives Shinso, like, you know, a quick little, like, good luck, like, good luck with some of these other students, and his secret is safe with him. Now, his classmates may yap about it, but he's not going to say a word. Hey, if you catch him off guard, you catch him off guard. Especially that Katsuki Bakugo. I mean, you know, like, just talk all the smack you possibly can to basically get him to fold. But, of course, all this is said and done, and Izuku would then head back to the kind of waiting area or the watch area, and he sits there and he watches his classmates go head to head, eventually leading to Bakugo actually winning the UA Sports Festival, which Izuku claps him, cheers him on, and even says all these things. And of course, Bakugo is so like, you know, horrible about it. He's so, like, smuck about it and stuff like that. He's like, oh yeah, I'm the best and this and that. He's very, very, very you could basically call it insecure. He's very kind of into his own self and his own ability. So, but Izuku just cheers him on, thinks this is great, whatever. Everyone got the best of what they wanted to get to. And of course, Izuku would still get countless agencies calling his name and wanting for him to actually join them. But there's one person that really stands out to him, someone he would not expect and didn't expect at all. And that's is Sir Nighteye. This would blow his mind. He would think, like, that's not what I expected. Like, I've never got a letter from Sir Nighteye about technology, about anything. Like, what's changed? Why wouldn't he send it, like, later? In which eventually he would find out why. Because when he would eventually arrive for the internship, he would learn that Sir Nighteye heard about what he did for All Might, and he learns that Izuku is very capable in various ways. And he also tells the kid, like, he's a big fan of All Might, right? Him and All Might, they might not be on the best of terms to an extent, but at the same time, he still has all the respect in the world for him. So if they can create something that allows All Might to do his job just a little bit longer, a little bit better, and at a higher level, he wants to do that. And he wants to know if Izuku can really do that. And if he does, then he can. He will give him a full-time spot here once he graduates, if he wants it, of course. But he also will give him the proper kind of tools to make All Might some more gear right here and right now. In which Izuku says that he'll do it, but under one condition. In which Sir Nighteye says, like, you know what? I like the way you think, kid. Always find a good thing for yourself as well. In which he says, well, it's not necessarily a good thing for me. Well, I mean, to an extent it is. But he says that he wants his support class, partner, basically, Mei Hatsume, to also embark on this internship too. In which he asks, like, will she be a good help and, you know, figuring some things out for All Might? And he says 100%. Like, there's no doubt in his mind that she will be helpful and she will be able to actually do things to a large degree in terms of actually helping create something for All Might and create something that would allow him to be back at his prime. In which Sir Nighteye says, like, I never brought up his prime. In which Izuku says that when I shoot for something, I shoot for something big. I don't think halfway. I don't think this way. No. If you want All Might to be strong and you want him back to where he used to be, that's what we're going to try to do. We're going to shoot for the stars. In which Sir Nighteye is like, you know what? I like that. I like that a lot. And he tells him that he got it. Call her up. Tell her that she's got an internship opportunity here. And tell her to get down here ASAP because they got a lot of work to do. And that's exactly what happens. For the next like 4 days or so, Zuko and Mihatsume work on different ideas and different gear that could potentially work with All Might. And they do kind of familiarize it with, like, you know, from gauntlets to boots to chest plates to all this stuff, trying to make basically a suit of armor. And to an extent, that's what it is. Now, it's not your bulky run-of-the-mill suit of armor. Like, it's not like an Iron Man suit of armor, but it is individual items that will help him quite a bit. Stuff that would allow him to kind of fight at his prime level, or at least prime strength, and not absolutely make him exhausted or push him too hard to where he's, you know, not at the best spot. Because Sir Nighteye did admit that All Might's not really the All Might he used to be, in which Izuku says that he assumed as much, because watching him utilize his gloves that one time, it seemed a lot closer and a lot stronger than he ever has been in a long time. But of course, Sir Nighteye keeps what he has to say short. He doesn't want to expose All Might on some different things, and he doesn't want to expose All Might in a different degree. So of course they work hard and they prepare hard and they do all this stuff to try to give All Might another chance. And after all this, and after almost everything is finished, they eventually get a call, and that call is from Yue and from Aizawa himself, telling them that they have to send home or send back the two Yue students that are over there. In which, of course, he's confused, like, why, right? Like, why do I got to send them back? And eventually they learn, or he learns exactly why. And he learns that it's because Tenya Ida, yes, Tenya Ida is extremely hurt and in a very extremely bad place. Like, he's really, really bad place. And that right there would shock Izuku to hear, because he hasn't thought like anything about, like, how would this happen, right? Like, he can't even fathom to himself, really even think to himself, like, how could something like this even occur? I mean, seriously, how? He's trying to wrap it around his own head, like, I can't believe that someone that I know, someone that is so prominent in what we're doing here, actually got hurt. And it really blows his mind and really messes with his head to an extent. But at the same time, he can't really think that much about it anymore. And they leave, they head off, and they leave to back to Yue, of course. And they just prepare themselves for whatever is going to face them very soon. But whatever is going to face them, well, that's going to have to wait for the next part 2 of 2 of What If Deku Had a Technopath Quirk. And if you guys enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, like I said, show some love to the video as well. Now, with all that said, though, hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.